Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. End of weekend. Back into gear. Quiet times on Mondays. It is a nice thing, isn't it? You know what would be nice is some quiet times here because there is a leaf blower immediately outside the window, right? Like he just showed up and he started blowing at 11:59. So let's see how that goes. I think he is receding into the distance at this point. Good morning, everybody. A morning full of busyness and craziness, and it'll be nice to quiet down for a few minutes with you and just wish I had some coffee. I was eating couscous already. That's how accelerated the day is thus far. I think he's on his way back. Teddy's homesick today. Both kids got vaccinated this weekend, which was so good. And he was he was bordering on a little bit sick before. I can't tell if it's allergies or what. It's nothing bad, but kids in school and all that stuff. So that little one is home, and he's probably having a nice quiet day. Joss returned back to school this morning after being off for, I figured out, 10 days because she had a school vacation and then she was sick for a few days. I don't think it was really 10 days. She said that number. I'm thinking it was more like, maybe it was 10. It feels like 10. She's a good girl. She's a good girl. I hope you see, I posted on our Facebook group, which is Rug Cooking and Punch and Needle Club. I hope you saw I posted some of the results. Oh, I forgot to get the class up. Oh, mama. I'm going to do a pre-recorded dye class this month. And if you didn't hear yet, I've got the pre-post up on the Facebook group, and it is the result. Let me grab it. It's right here. The results of her dyeing stockings the other night on the stove in using a method that she at times called mop it up and at other times called it making dough. So she made all of these. I underdyed the really saffron colored one. I underdyed a few of them. I think I only underdyed 2 of them actually. They are loaded with dye, but you can see how well the nylons dye just as well as anything, right? Just as well as anything. I was absolutely stunned with how pretty they looked. So I took some pictures, and I'm going to be putting this up as a dye class. But this month, I think we're all a bit crazy this month, right? Or at least it's coming for us, the craziness. So I was thinking what I'll do is this time I'm going to do a pre-recorded dye class that will be just for people who want the whole package, right? Because I'll put up. I started putting together 3 different themed sets, right? They were kind of seasonal. And one of them was, I need to grab my book too. I'm just not there today, am I? I'm just not there. One of them was department store window that was full of really bright, like holiday type colors, but very bright purples and razzle dazzle colors kind of thing. And one called Winter Wonderland that was mostly like blues, whites, and trees like spruce and evergreen type colors. What was the third one I did? Christmas wrapping, like wrapping paper. That would the true Christmas colors. If you don't celebrate Christmas, that might not be the one. Mostly reds and greens and maybe golds, that kind of thing. But every set will come with, I think I wrote 12 stockings. Like they're the single pull-up stockings, right? Like long ones, and 10 colors that will come in pots, and then you can decide if you want to put them in squirt bottles. It'll come with squirt bottles, potted dyes, right, just so they screw off and it's easy. Spoons, I'll put the wooden spoons in citric acid, synthropol. You probably have a mask. I'll put some gloves in. So that'll be a pre-recorded class. No matter what colors you choose, those things will come as a set. So it'll still be like super economical, but you don't have to be there at a certain time. Here he comes, blowing the leaves. So that'll be coming up. I'll get that going. But I did post, I posted this set. You know what? Hang with me for 1 minute. Let me walk over here. I'm a real, as my sister used to say, cruckanucka today. I am not really with the program yet. Here I am. I'm back. So this isn't a very good vignette. Got to the studio a little late with Teddy being sick. I've got them all compartmentalized. Let me fix this for you. This is the set of food, Glorious Food. They are selling like crazy right now. I'm so glad. I was working on the surprise pattern. I think I'll show you tomorrow, so it's not such a surprise. I got them in the box. I got them all messed up. But there's 35 colors here. And I'm going to say all my hellos too. All sort of foodie food colors, right? If you haven't seen them yet, I should show them better. But 35 colored swatches, and I should have put the links on this thing, right? How stupid am I? They're still not showing as bright as they are. They're quite bright. That top one looked red, and it's not red at all. But all of those correspond to recipes that I found in my old recipe books, like this one that I want to start out with. But first, let me see who's here and say my good mornings, and then we'll get into some of the nitty-gritty food stuff. Carol, you are just finishing up your Van Gogh chair. Fantastic. Thanks for reminding me. I have a 3 or 4 Van Goghs here, and I have to photograph Joy's and Jean's for you close up. I'm going to photograph Tara's too close up, so you can see them in the Facebook group, because I want everybody to be seeing what's coming in. And fantastic. Take your time. I'm sure it'll be perfect. I can't wait. So happy. I'm going to put the shout out too. You know, I'm working on a big book project. I'm going to put the shout out again for anybody that works in, for example, things that I'm weak on in terms of gallery pictures: latch, locker, hooking, penny rugs, wool applique, Amish toothbrush, crocheted rugs, that kind of thing. Prati, all Prati rugs or partial Prati rugs, braided rugs, anything like that. I would say hooking. I have a lot of hooking and I have a lot of punch. Felted wool, which reminds me, I did a class yesterday in Madison, Connecticut, a very nice class, the Pilgrim's Hat Prati pattern, and such a nice group. One of the girls was such an advanced and good needle felter. I was super inspired by the picture she was showing me on her phone. So I'm going to follow up with her a bit and see if she's got some stuff. But what a fun class. It was 2 of my buddies who I see all the time, Darlene and Jan, and then this new buddy called Lori. So it was really nice. It was just a small class of 3 people, but it was worth going because it's so close to the house, and it was a nice break for me. It was fun. Busy time of year, I'll tell you. Cynthia, good morning. Good to see you. Kirsten, good morning. Good to see you. Penny, happy Monday. It's sunny Myrtle Beach. Good to see you. Tara, happy Monday Coffee Club. Catherine, happy Coffee Club in Idaho. Good to see you. April, good to see you. And Crystal, I've got to wear your sweater. It's still not your sweater. It's a sweater that reminds me of you. It's still not cold enough here. I'm not complaining. It's great. It's great. This is, I don't know what is up with me, but I have made like 3 trips to TJ Maxx this week. And I'm wearing a shirt from like 17 years ago. But I did get other stuff, like, you know, they're selling all this like velveteen, soft velvet, loungy stuff for around the house. And they had such nice hair stuff and a little bit of makeup stuff. Joss came with me and got some bath bombs, and we picked out slippers, and then I went back and I looked at more little bits of, I mean, it's just fun. It's just fun. I got some Christmas earrings going already. I'm going to get all seasonal on you pretty fast. Been listening to the holiday music channel already, and it is so good. It's a really good match for my constant Hallmark movie watching. That's a good pairing. Linda, good to see you in sunshiny, colorful Northwest New Jersey. Donna, great to see you. Elaine, great to see you in sunny North Texas. Thumbs up, please. We love thumbs up on these videos. Definitely helps with the visibility. Robin in Wisconsin, beautiful day there. Happy Monday, good to see you. I was just writing to Kaz. I know she's a school teacher, so I know she's not around, but I know she's one of your buddies. Beverly, good to see you. I need to write you too about some of the stuff you sent me. I'm getting all businessy today. I'm telling you, I'm locking it all up, putting a lockdown on myself, and just computer stuff. It's computer stuff at this point with working on this project. And yeah, I'm just not good at computer stuff. I just don't enjoy it at all, looking at the screen and typing stuff. So I'm going to get to it regardless. Joy, it's good to see you. And Jill, it's good to see you. Oh, thanks, Penny. Hello, Doreen. Hello, Courtney. Good morning. Tumbling happy face. Kimberly, good to see you in sunny Ohio. Sonia, good to see you in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Great to see you. Julia, hello in North Carolina. I wonder if you're near Penny. Beautiful colors. Laura, good to see you. Also Idaho. I wonder if you're near Catherine. Dave, good to see you. Happy afternoon. Super weekend. Oh, I'm glad you had a super weekend. Tell us more about it. I had a good weekend. Vaccinating kids on Saturday and then teaching on Sunday. And I was here, I didn't forget about changing the clocks. I just kind of forgot about it. And it turned out I was here at the studio, which is like 25 minutes from my house, at by 6 in the morning. I thought it was 7, and it was still early, but yeah, it was earlier than I thought. But it got a lot done. And hey, like we were saying on Friday night at cocktail time, when you're awake, you're awake. You might as well just get going, right? I feel like such a slug-a-bug when I lay in bed for so long and have crazy dreams. It's like, just get going. I'm just forcing myself to activate. Catherine, good to see you. Both Catherine's on there. Good, we'll figure out where everybody is and see if we can find buddies. I am so sorry about that leaf blowing. Let me know if it's impossible to hear me. That is super aggravating. So first things first. I said I was going to, starting today, I mean, it's like the window's open. You know, it's like he's actually in the room, really. I've never understood the idea of blowing leaves because you're basically moving them from the parking lot to the neighbor's lawn. And I'm anticipating the neighbor's not going to be super thrilled, right? When all of these leaves hit his lawn, he's likely to blow them back over, right? Whatever. So, favorite recipes from famous eating places. Do you have any cookbooks like this around? This is not raw cooking related. I'm tying it to our Swatch set, Food, Glorious Food. Every time I see these kinds of little books, I buy them because the art is tremendous and inspiring. This one was published in 1954 by Ford Motor Company, because they were so smart in the mid-century. Ford was. They continue to be smart. But they published a lot of these little recipe books like this, and I'll tell you, every page has this kind of beautiful original watercolor with an old car, different parts of the country, different places that some of them probably, you know, to be realistic, are not there anymore. This looks like it's got to be Florida, right? But they are the most charming. It goes by region, and the idea was that you'd get in your Ford car and take off and go to these places. I mean, isn't this I mean, doesn't this just slay you? Little weekend jaunt, right? I mean, what could be better? So I go through them. There's quite a few volumes of this, and it tells you a little bit about traveling, and it also gives you some great recipes. So I was looking through a number of cookbooks when I put this Swatch set together, and this was one of them. So let me see. Let me find one of the recipes that I pulled from here, and I will read it to you, and then I'll show you the color. All right, so let's see. I want to be sure I grab the right one. I think it's this one. Okay, so this one is, this is orange snowflake cake. So that's this color here, right? So this is one of the colors in the Swatch set. It's like a very light, peachy, creamy, snowy, very, very gentle orange. So I made that the swatch that goes with the orange snowflake salad. Orange snowflake salad. Owned by Ann and Cliff Rudy. This is the Log Cabin Inn. It's on Route 101 outside of Quilcene, Quilcene, Washington. Is anybody near there? Quilcene, Washington. I wonder if the Log Cabin Inn is still there. Overnight accommodations and vacation facilities. It looks like it was an adorable place. I hope it's still there. So cute. So this is the orange snowflake salad. Oh, this is so funny. You remember how in the middle, 20th century, people did so much with cottage cheese and Jell-O, often at the same time? I don't think this is. This is 1 cup of cottage cheese, 1 cup of pineapple shredded, a half a cup of celery chopped, 1 tablespoon of onion grated, a half cup of pineapple juice, 2 tablespoons of vinegar, half cup of water, pinch of salt, I spoke too soon, 2 packages of orange Jell-O, 1/4 tablespoon of powdered ginger, and 2 cups of water. And it says, place the cottage cheese, pineapple, and celery and minced onion in a small loaf pan, like a little meatloaf pan. Heat pineapple juice, vinegar, water, and salt together in a saucepan. Remove from heat and add Jell-O, ginger, and water. Pour this liquid over ingredients in the pan and stir gently to separate cheese. Chill in a refrigerator until firm. Cut into squares and serve on lettuce garnish with mayonnaise and parsley. Serves 10. See, somehow I just knew this was coming. I hadn't read it yet, but that combo of using Jell-O and using cottage cheese, that was powerful back then, wasn't it? And you know what I have to say? Can't get into the dying part, Julia. I know it's not for everybody. And things change too, because at one point I thought I would never be interested in dying. I thought too much trouble, why bother? And now, as time went on, I just thought I want to control more parts of it. I'm even getting even crazier and thinking I'd also like to have sheep, right? Control really all parts of it. But you know, it might never be for you. It's not for everybody. It's a big mess maker. It's a whole other world. And you know, if you're happy doing what you're doing, you know, buying wool or finding wool, repurposing and all, you know, there's so many other ways to do it that it's not like it's a necessity at all. Carol, that recipe sounds like a diet food for ladies at an afternoon card party. Absolutely. Doesn't it sound like a bridge type recipe? But you know, I think I'm going to try it because all the same, I love cottage cheese. I need to diet. So 3 things. I need to diet. I love cottage cheese. And I also love Jell-O. So that really could be something. It's not like there's any meat in it. You know, all the aspic moles that had like hot dogs in them. No, I'm not going to go as far as that. I won't be reading you any of those. But this sounds, the orange snowflake salad sounds like a nice, light, yeah, maybe dietary salad. I probably could eat the entire little loaf and be hungry 10 minutes later, because that's just the way I am, you know, shamefully. But anyway, our first recipe for Food Glorious Food. We're going to do a recipe a day using these Swatch colors until we run out, but I'll probably do some more Swatch colors for December that are food related, because I like being in this groove of putting together the holiday season with our rug making, with cooking, and all kinds of other cozy things that we might have going on. And speaking of cozy, please let me know if that is so annoying that you can't hear me, because it's a shame to forfeit good information while this guy has to blow leaves. But Friday was such a lot of fun for me looking at the Wall Street Journal, right? A small periodical that doesn't exist anymore, but started in 2002 and had a good little run with so much good, solid, friendly information in every single issue. So if you were with us on Friday, you know, but if you weren't, we went through the first 2 copies of Wall Street Journal, and it was just amazing. It was just so charming. It was impossibly charming. And I know all of the subsequent issues will be too. So I am back into this. Now, I want to say before I forget, I will not be running an episode tomorrow, because if you remember, tomorrow there's going to be the live event with Molly Colgrove's new landscape book, right? The hooking the landscape. I know it's not exactly that, but we covered it last week. She's going to be live on the Rug Hooking magazine page, right? It's going to be a live interactive event, so I don't want to be tying people up when something as important as that is coming up tomorrow. So be looking for that on the Rug Hooking page to tell them that you're going, because it is a live event and it's interactive, I think. So I'm pretty sure they like to have a feel for how many people are attending. So that will be tomorrow. I'm with you today. I'll be with you Wednesday. I'll be with you Thursday. And I'll do an episode on Friday night. Good. Leaf Man is just a funny soundtrack. Good. I'm glad. He just laid off. It was like he heard the comment and he just buzzed it down right there. So this episode, I've got this issue in my hand, and I showed you the cover of this the other day. It's super sweet. Lots of pumpkins. It's not too Halloweeny though, because look at the bottom. It says, "We gather together to ask the Lord's blessing." So you can see that they're moving toward Thanksgiving with this, right? Super. I've seen this rug before. I know you have too. I absolutely love it. It reminds me of, do you know the artist Charles Waisaki? Very, very prolific 20th century painter who did very New Englandy scenes, very nostalgic and old-timey scenes. But, I mean, he's just unbelievably great. It reminds me a little bit of his work because, you know, with this composition, like Waisaki's, they are using height and levels of viewing to show you distance, right? Very sort of typical folk art perspective. So it's a really, really good start when you see a cover like that. So let's dig in. And as usual, a subscription to this magazine was $20.95. Don't you wish you could subscribe and it would just come? I mean, that would be so nice. So she's got at the beginning, the dear friends, and she sort of greets, what does she say? Oh, she's, let's just read a little bit. I love how she's greeting. It's so personal. This periodical. Dear friends, can you believe it? It's time to say hello again. We hope this note finds you all well. The holidays will soon be upon us. We can hardly grasp the idea. It seems like yesterday that we were tidying up the potted geraniums out front here at Wool Street Journal. We are so thankful for all of you, and your cards and letters continue to delight us and inspire us. More and more of you are sending us pictures and stories about your rugs, your families, your hooking pals, the hooking community happenings. What a great group of folks rug hookers are. And then she goes on to talk about the new space they've got. So they're growing already by the 3rd issue. Very sweet, nice introduction. And then she does her message board where she talks about all of she's getting more mail, right? She's getting more mail, so she's going through it and she's giving us highlights of things that are going on that might be sort of defunct things at this point, because so many of the shops, as we found out, are not there anymore. There are lots of puzzles around. So hooking, how to begin. So again, she does her monthly how to pull up loops, right? She does it every month and she writes it every month. So every month it's different and interesting for a beginner just grabbing a hold of the first issue to say, okay, well, this is how we get going. And then the next page, dyeing, how to get started. And again, the same thing, just telling you different words, different illustration every time in case you want to review. Just telling us how to get started. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. I mean, I'm glad that you can hear me because I can't hear myself think. And it's worth saying that the woman who did a lot of writing in this magazine was Karen Kale, Primitive Mind of Miss Prim. I'm going to read that feature next. But she still has an Etsy store. Her Etsy store is still up. It's called Primitive Spirit. So if you're looking for the work of Karen Kale, and again, she's the one, if you were with me Friday, who always does the Primitive Mind of Miss Prim. Her store is on Etsy, as beautiful as ever, full blessed there with so many gorgeous things to look at and buy. So that part has stayed the same. So cross your fingers that he keeps that thing on off. The Primitive Mind of Miss Prim. And this episode is called Inspiration is the First Step. In doing my preparations for teaching, I am constantly refining what I have to say. I want to reach people where it matters. There are so many facets of rug hooking that it would be a shame if what was important was lost in a morass of too much information. That's so true, isn't it? I ask myself, where's the best place to begin? I would not choose to start students in color theory, not in style, and not in the mechanics of dyeing. I think that the most important place to begin teaching is in finding inspiration. I absolutely agree with that. Haven't read this yet. Absolutely agree with that. That is so smart. And that reminds me when we were in the class yesterday. I had the Pilgrim, the Prati class. So 2 of the girls had been there with me often. And the other girl that came, who was a needle felter and already very good at using her hands in textiles in general, right? She had a very good start. Lori. So Lori, as soon as we came in, she was like the first one to come, and she wanted to show me this sheep that she'd hooked the day before. Yes, you heard me right, the day before. She was afraid that when she came to class, she would have no starting point, right? That I would be like a different kind of a person, and I'd be like, what do you mean you don't know which end to hold the hook? So she came in a little early, and she wanted to show me this sheep and kind of get a feel for whether I wanted to say things to her quietly before everybody else showed up. She was sort of envisioning embarrassment. And she showed me the sheep, and it was just fantastic. It was super artsy. It was very rag-ruggy. It was not traditional. It was more toward primitive. It was a number 8 cut, very, very higgledy-piggledy in the best sense. It was just a feast for the eyes. Tremendous amount of texture and color. She had done very simple shading, and it was super effective. It was smart. And she was very relieved, and she said, when she looked at the pilgrim hat that I did, she said, well, I can see that I'm doing it wrong. And I was able to say, as I always do, you're absolutely not doing it wrong. You're doing it the way that you do it, and it's up to you at this point. Do you like that, or do you like other styles more? Because it's important to keep the way you instinctively work, but it's also nice if you like to learn other things to put into your bag of tricks for other times and future times. But, there's no reason to throw out the way that you instinctively work. Because when you start working against your instinct and against the way that your hand wants to work and the speed that you want to work at, then it's going to be an uphill battle every time. So she was very happy with that answer. And I have never seen anybody hook this fast. I mean, Lori, if you're watching, I would not make fun of you because I already absolutely love you and your work. But I've never seen anything like this. It was basically, I don't have a frame here, but it was the most aggressive hooking I've ever seen. And I'm saying it out loud because I admire it, right? I hook very fast, but she was kind of standing up over it, kind of digging in, almost like coring like a pumpkin, like getting the seeds out of a pumpkin or something, kind of like in, out, and she actually broke a hook. Right, so I said just use the inexpensive hooks. You can go through them like toilet paper if that's. But she works fast. She had trouble not working fast, and she did great work. That pilgrim hat prati, within the first 40 minutes of class, she had done all the centers of the flowers. That's like impossible. It was amazing, but it just reminded me, it was, in terms of teaching rug hooking. I've taught a lot of things, but just rug hooking. It was the most unusual experience that I had watching, because I thought, I kept walking over because I thought she's going fast. She's definitely working differently than I've ever seen anyone work. But every time I went over, it was very consistent what she was doing. And she tried to sort of make a departure from doing a higgledy-piggledy center, because the pilgrim hat prati has quite a few flowers coming out of the pilgrim hat, available at Ribbon Candy Hooking, shameless plug. And she said, let me do one of my centers I did like in a basket weave, right, of loops. And she said, let me try to do one the way that you did yours. So I showed her how I did mine, and she did it real fast again, like this. And you could see that there was geometry in the center of the flower, but she said, it still doesn't look like yours. And I said, well, you've got the lines a little bit different. Let's, I took a hook and dragged it down the linen and said, you can find your straight line. You can find your grain here and here by doing this with your hook. Just try to stay in line if you want to get this basket weave to look exactly like my center. And so the second one that she did, she still did it very fast, but she was a lot closer. I mean, like incredible amount of progress in 1 minute. So it was just exciting. It was an exciting thing to see everybody. There was 4 of us, 2 other students, and we were all watching and listening and very sort of allied together, curious and egging each other on. And it was just a fun experience. It was very different. Kimberly, Lisa, good morning. You hook so slow. That can happen too, and you know what? You still get there in the end, right? We talked a lot about what size should I hook with, because one of my other buddies, Jan, who was in there, she bought a cutter, and she was sold a very small head of 3, right? And it's just not her style. She does all primitive, and I hate it when that happens, because I feel like she was not being listened to properly when she was sold this expensive thing. So I'm going to send her over a 7 or an 8 head. But she was in there, and we were talking about the different widths, if you're a beginner, of strip, if you're hooking with wool strips. And I said, when you hook with the 3, obviously you get incredible fineness and detail. But Jan likes to hook also faster. Nobody, I don't think, will ever hook as fast as Lori. I mean, wait till you see her work. You're going to be blown away. I hope she joins the Facebook group, so if you're on the group too, you can see her work. It's remarkable. It is so, it's like watching, it's how I would imagine watching like Syrah paint, pointillist style, if I could take a time travel machine and go stand over his shoulder, just like, just incredibly fast and focused. Super interesting. But yeah, we talked about how when you're using those finer strips, it is going to take a lot longer. And if you're a person who you're working on your piece, you want to make progress fast, and as soon as you start your piece, you start thinking about the next piece, then you're probably not a person who wants to work in a tiny little cut, because it's going to take you longer. It's just as simple as that. It's going to take longer. So sometimes it boils down to speed rather than finished look, because some people who are more technical, more on the technical side than the creative side, doing it, the act of doing the motion of pulling up the loops is the part that they like the best, and getting some good speed going is what feels so gratifying and satisfying about making progress. So it's so interesting how everybody's so different and works so differently. Helene, good to see you. Good morning. Claire, you are on this morning. Oh, it was fun yesterday. And Claire was on the other day. Claire's one of my buddies from in person and also Zoom class. And Claire was telling me, because she lives right on the Rhode Island line in Massachusetts. And of course, I grew up in Rhode Island. And she was telling me about this person called Peter Patches, right, Claire? And I haven't had time to look him up yet, but I thought, if that is not a folk song waiting to happen, he sells fabric, right, Claire? Is it fabric or yarn? Peter Patches. I shouldn't say it because I want to get to the store before you do and see what Peter Patches has. But somebody needs to start writing that on an acoustic guitar or banjo, obviously. So good to see you. Elaine says, I take pauses in hooking, time to think where the project is going for you. That is smart, isn't it? Stepping back is smart. I'm working on something I really can't show because it's a book project. But it's a Prati piece. It's a partially Prati. It's not the Pilgrim's Hat. And I was hooking it. I love the design I did. And I just thought, it was one of those days where I was, congratulating myself. Oh, you're so good. Mwah, mwah, that kind of thing, like with the door shut, that kind of thing. And I hooked it for a while, and I thought, I hate it. This is awful. What was I ever thinking? I take it all back. But then I went a little bit further. I did what you're saying, Elaine, and I took like the hot minute or the hot second or whatever, and I looked at it again, and I thought, yeah, I can see this coming together, and it has really come together since then. I think it's one of my favorite pieces that I've done. It's going to be a free pattern in that book when it comes out in August. But yeah, taking that minute and stepping back is not a bad idea. I think for the way Lori was working in such a fast, truly impressionist style, I think part of the effect that she was getting, that very confetti pixelated, pointillist effect, I think she was getting it because of the speed she was going at. And I can see stepping back after completing a section and going, enough shades, enough shadows, enough glimmer of light, enough dark light, dull bright to make this interesting and make it work. But it just was such a huge reminder how differently we all work. And it's so nice to take a page out of someone else's book once in a while and stretch yourself, try working in a different style or at a different speed, just to see what you get, right? You're going to get something different if you change your formula. Yarn. Okay, Claire. I need to get over to Peter Patches. I'm already morphing his name. Tara, I find my moods can affect the speed. That's true, isn't it? I have a similar thing that when I'm in a very bad mood, I get almost frenetic energy, super negative, frantic type energy. And I tend to hook very fast, borderline violently in those moments. So for me too, mood definitely affects things. And I guess when I'm more at peace and thoughtful, engaged with people around me, I would hook a bit slower because I'm actually listening to people who are talking to me and things like that. So everything, all of these factors, right, affect everything. And oh, good, Helene. I was thinking as a side note, I'm going to get back on track, but I was thinking as a side note, I was thinking about that Hooking on the Hill episode, Athens, Georgia, 2 Fridays ago, and about how I said, I've got to get out there. I've got to get out there and hook with those ladies. I want to be in that log cabin up on the hill. I want to check it out. It seems like a winter adventure to me, too. And I said, who else wants to come? Should we try to make it like some kind of a crazy meetup? I know it's like not everybody can travel. Not everybody wants to travel in the near future. But it did make me think, and I have said this before, but this time it really seems like the right time with the kids getting vaccinated. I think we're going to see better numbers overall and people getting boosters and things like that. Is it time for us to start talking about planning trips together in 2022? Because I will lean, as a former career tour guide, I will lean on my old contacts to get very good deals on routes, very good deals with accommodation and with a bus company that I've always used. I could see putting together some different itineraries and getting together, and certainly one in Canada, but certainly one in New England too, maybe one down south, and one out west. That would make sense, wouldn't it? But I thought, is it time to start doing that kind of stuff? like maybe one or two longer itineraries that are like a week long together, where we're hooking on the bus and watching movies as we travel and going from place to place, that have special interest or significance to people who are interested in rugs, but also art, folk art, antiques, that kind of cozy stuff that I think probably a lot of us have that in common. And also maybe planning some day trips and fielding out some day trips for other people in other parts of the country if I organize them and I can't be there. Maybe setting up a kind of infrastructure where somebody in a different part of the country could be the leader of a bus trip on that day. I'm feeling like it's time, as soon as this book project is finished, which is going to be about a month, I feel like it's time to start taking it up to the next level and doing things together, or at least putting the opportunity out there for people to get together and meet and, yeah, do some stuff. I feel like it's time. See, and in the comments, it's like Deep South, Sonia, absolutely. I'm dying to go back to the Deep South. Dying to. Yeah, I think it would be fun. You know, I hate to do things that like are budget busters, because I know not everybody's like, oh, I'll take off and go on a vacation. Why not? I don't have any bills to pay. But you know, hopefully we can keep things. I always try to keep things reasonable and realistic, and it's still going to always be a push for a lot of people, and sometimes for me too. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm going to start thinking about that. And if you have any ideas for, like, listen, I took a bus tour, this is you speaking to me, I took a bus tour so-and-so, or I live in the Deep South, and if I was going to entertain my friends visiting me, I would do these old antebellum mansions, and I would go along the river and go up to this town, and there's this charming place on the side of the river where you get out and eat, and it's the best. I was going to say crawfish. I don't even know if that's like the lobster of the, maybe catfish is better. Lobster of New England, you know, like signature food is what I'm going for. But, you know, if you have any kind of thoughts like that and you can start evolving them, that'd be a very good starting point for me, because I haven't toured since I had my kids. So it's been more than 10, no, it hasn't been 10 years. It's been 10 years. But not more than 10 years. And things have changed. So I could use a lot of help if you start making a little list of like, well, these houses are great. I know this place has some folk art, maybe some hooked rugs, or just folk art. This town has a lot of little galleries where we might find ourselves inspired in having a nice lunch, that kind of thing. And oh, if you like that town, then you're only half an hour or an hour or two to this town, you know. That kind of thing would be super helpful, because I'm quite serious. I keep returning to this thought, and I'm quite serious about getting going, you know. Anyway, crawfish. I don't think I've ever had crawfish, but I would certainly have it if I went to the right area to get it. I always have whatever is on offer. But see, I can see you all in the thread saying, where are you from, and making connections. And yeah, getting together is for such a lonely occupation, hooking, it's great to have something on the couch in the living room to do, but it's so great to get together too, and to find people who you have something so important in common with already, right? Back to Miss Prim, The Primitive Mind of Miss Prim by Karen Kale. She's talking about finding inspiration first, and how to her that is the most important part of approaching a project or teaching some new people. Finding inspiration is fun. This was so apparent to me as I worked on my latest rug design. I had some idea of what I wanted to do and what the colors would be, but I was really starting from scratch, and I want more to go on than my nebulous impressions. I decided to go to a large local bookstore that has a cafe to look through some interesting books while I sipped some tea. I went to the fiber art section and I found a hooked rug book, a couple of quilt books, a book on inspiration for needle art designs, and one on home arts. I also looked in the home decorating section and found a few books on cottage style and garden-y homes. Garden-y homes, like beautiful, like cottage shed, she sheds, decorating your garden. You know, all of these genres that she just mentioned: decorating, quilts, crafts, garden. These are all great inspiration places for looking up things. If you are working, I should preface this by saying she's really talking about making her own pattern, right? So backing it up a little bit. Looking on eBay for back issues of magazines, any magazine pretty much. You can get like whole year or lots of like 10 years, and they come in this big media mail box, right? If you're in the U.S. and it's shipping in the U.S., that the media mail is not very expensive. It's just slow. You can get great back issues of magazines that you can look at them all winter, right? Just flip through them with your drink on the couch and get all these crazy ideas. Remember what we said in Molly Colgrove's book, last week, how she has a scrapbook and she actually takes pieces out of magazines, since they're 90% advertisements anyway, cuts them out and puts them in the scrapbook. So when she's feeling inspired, she's got her own rug hooking sort of scrapbook log ready to rock right there in front of her, something that you can touch and turn the pages of, right? With a big cup of tea in hand, I got a table and leisurely flipped through each book. What wonderful photography on every page. Such color, so many new ideas. Some of the photos were putting me in a dreamy mood, a sort of passionate, longing state of mind. It is a place where you can almost smell the flowers, feel the sun on your skin, and be somewhere else. I began to feel very inspired. I was looking at things that I loved in colors that really turned me on. There were wonderful color poems in the forms of pillows, quilts, rugs, gardens, paintings, furniture, and fabrics. Now, she's making such a good point here. I'm sorry I keep stopping and running my mouth, but she's making such a good point. And it just reminds me, I'm going to keep returning to this theme, but as we move toward less and less sun, right, shorter days, a time of year that can be very hard on a lot of people, particularly people who are prone to feeling depressed, it's so important to keep reminding yourself as we go deeper and deeper into the winter that you have to find a way to summon your coziness, right? The cozy stuff inside you that brings up happy memories, nostalgia, reminds you that there's things to look forward to. And as I'm reading this passage that she wrote, I'm just thinking, in the dead of winter, it would be so nice to go to a bookstore or a library, order some books off eBay that have like summer issues of my favorite magazines, Early American Life, Reminisce, whatever, and be looking, Home and Garden, right, anything like that, and be looking at those summer issues in the winter when you're not feeling so great and you're seeing all those summer ideas. It's a good thing to set yourself up for before you're not feeling so great, right? Make sure that you have some built-in ways in the next few months that you can travel to a place in your mind and your imagination that might be better than where you are at that moment. Because, we're putting our seatbelts on, we're all getting into this winter thing together, and it gets dark, doesn't it? So it's definitely something to think about, getting some resources around you that can perk up your mood and give you some ideas. There's no reason why you shouldn't work on a rug of yourself laying on the beach in December, right? There's no reason why you shouldn't if it makes you feel good. I saw some paintings I saw some paintings that featured the look and colors I wanted in my rug. I decided to buy the book because it had so many inspiring things in it that I knew that it would be a valuable part of my personal library. I studied how the colors repeated and danced across the painting, what other minor colors were in it, that's important, as well as how each object was defined. Was it outlined in a special color? Were there strong contrasts or softly contrasting elements? What neutrals were featured and repeated? That's so important, isn't it? Because we always go toward like white, beige, gray, black, right? There's a lot of neutrals, right? There's a lot more than that. So that's a very good point to pick out. What was the darkest dark and what was the lightest light? I spent a wonderful morning feeling pampered, giving myself a bit of attention and treating myself out alone to do just as I pleased. I was ready to go home and plan my colors. I looked through my stash of wool. I needed to get some more colors for my background, so I marbleized some wools. I modified other wools that were almost perfect by splashing a bit of color onto them in the dye pot, nothing too drastic. I now felt excited and ready to start hooking. I knew that I hadn't worked out every detail of my rug, but I had a solid starting point for delving into it. Inspiration comes from all kinds of places. I think we should be on the lookout for it and always be aware of it. An important first place it can come from is other people. I like to surround myself with positive, loving people. Your heart opens and creativity flows in when you feel valued and accepted. Don't overlook this one. And of course, don't overlook the ways that you can be a positive inspiration to others. It's a great gift. Give more than you take, right? Bottom line, try to give more than you take. Many of us find inspiration from the environment we most feel at home in. So where you like the most. Maybe it's the beach. Maybe it's December. Square peg, circle hole, but you can make it work, right? Just some thoughtful planning. For me, it is in nature, surrounded by gardens and birds, sunshine, rain, fresh air. Other folks get turned on in the city, loving the sights and sounds there. I love antiques, rustic painted furniture, quilts, and old stuff. There's a wonderful junk with a Q-U-E shop in town that serves lunch and crumpets. Uh-oh, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Sounds like one of the green, what is it, the Green Lantern tea house, that famous old tea house. Sounds like one of those. Crumpets surrounded by their special mélange of paraphernalia. I like to go there and soak in the ambiance. That place never fails to send me home with a little treasure and ideas of grandeur. Keep an inspiration journal. I go to my journal regularly in search of ideas. So she's going to go on quite a bit longer, but she's giving some great ideas. I think that was the thrust of it. Go for a walk and talk to yourself about what pleases you. Get to know yourself and what you really love. Stop to smell the roses too. Before you realize what's happening, you'll be in touch with your artistic energies and you'll be ready to create. That's great. That's a really great feature. I love that feature of this magazine. It is so, this is like pre-blog years, right? 2002. This is pre-blogs. That's just the kind of thing. If she was on daily writing something, I would be reading it every day. If there was somebody in a newspaper who wrote like that every day, I'd be reading it every day, like an Irma Bombeck kind of a thing. Bombeck. Just makes you feel better, makes you feel good, gives you some ideas, right? Put some ideas in your pocket, you're ready to walk out the door and deal with the day, no matter what, right? Let me just catch up. Laura, good to see you. Oh, good. I'm glad you're making some connections out there. So, they put in all of these great, not just rug hooking, but sort of wool applique ideas in every issue, too. I'm obviously running over. This one I'm going to show you in a minute, and then some ideas for applique. Lots of how-to instructions, very literally black and white instructions. But all you need to know, one of them was decorating a tea towel with an applique pattern. Tom Baker's Sweet Shop butter cookies. And remember, at every episode, there's one recipe. Tom Baker's Sweet Shop. How sweet, literally. And I am a hooker. Oh, you know what? I think we're going to have to stop because we're going to have to pick this up tomorrow. I'm a hooker. Remember, IMA, like it's her first name, says or asks, How High Can You Go? By Renita Geeds, Geddes. And it's a discussion about loops. Let's start there tomorrow. I've already foxed the page from, or maybe somebody else did before me. Let's start there tomorrow because I think this is going to be a very good conversation about height of loops. This is another thing we got talking about yesterday in class, and it was a really productive conversation. So I want to see what I'm a Hooker has to say too. And we hardly got anywhere in this periodical, but we'll look at it again. No, not tomorrow, on Wednesday. Let's return to it on Wednesday. And I want to remind you, if you go to Rug Cooking Magazine's website and or their Facebook page, you will see that event with Molly Colgrove coming up tomorrow. I will try to tune in myself. I plan to be there, and I will love seeing you there. But I don't want to have like multiple things for people to feel sort of obligated to log on for in one day. And that's a big one. I really want to celebrate Molly's book. It's a hugely important addition to not just our rug cooking library, but our fiber art library. No matter what you do, that book is important to have. So I want everybody to be able to get the chance to hear her. And I will be back with you on Wednesday to read what I'm a Hooker has to say about the height of your loops. That's so specific, isn't it? We'll do some other stuff that day, too. I will see you then. Also, remember, because I'm not going to be on tomorrow, Wednesday is the first installment of 2 of our Designing Like class this month. It is Tavern Signs. So we will be designing. I've been working this morning on a few games. I'll put a lot more games in there. It's a 2-hour class where you log on and you just print out a document that I send you that's many sheets of drawings that you're able to use and use in the future for yourself and keep. And we're going to be making a whole series of fun and funny and historic and interesting Tavern Signs, original Tavern Sign designs. And that first one is coming up on Wednesday night, so you can find that on Ribbon Candy Hooking, my page, Tavern Signs, Designing Tavern Signs. And then the second class is on Sunday, right? So it's a one time, but you choose either Wednesday or Sunday. So that's coming up this week too. Don't forget, if you're interested in that, get signed up for that so I know how many people to expect. I'm still working on the document, but I'll probably send it out tonight. It's bigger and more perfect than I thought I would have to make it. It keeps evolving, right? It's going to be something really special. So I will look forward to seeing you Sunday. Sorry, I will look forward to seeing you Wednesday for coffee time, and hopefully also Wednesday night or Sunday night for Tavern Signs. See you then. Have a great day, everybody. Oh, good.